Hello, viewers. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. You are welcome to another edition of Family Connect. We are so excited and so privileged to have the caliber of people that are with us this evening. And I trust God that it's going to be an extremely interesting session because right now, our participants have an opportunity to basically respond to what the millennials have said. Well, if you have been following us, you will know that for the past 1 month, we have been talking with the younger generation. We wanted to understand them and know the issues they are contending with. And they have spoken extensively. And I'm going to just relay most of what they have said about issues they're going through and basically the challenges they have with the older generation, which you all represent right now, even though you all look very young and you look like millennials yourselves. Anyway, I'm going to start. I'm going to start the introduction, first of all, with Pastor Comfort Adesoye. Pastor Comfort Adesoye, here highlighted on the screen, is a wife. She's a mother. She's an architect and a co-pastor at the Lighthouse Assembly, Abuja. And her time is largely spent on premarital and post-marital counseling and helping people with emotional situations. She's devoted to healing hearts and homes. Pastor Comfort, welcome to the program. It's so great to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And next on the line here that we're going to introduce is none other than Pastor Segun Olugbemi, here highlighted. Is a minister of the gospel who has pioneered and pastored several churches within Nigeria in over 34 years. We doff our heart to you, sir. Yes. And he is, prior to his new assignment, he pioneered and presided over 16 churches in different parts of Nigeria. He exercises apostolic and mentoring oversight over several churches and ministry, and he has also pioneered Bible schools and leadership institutes. He's an apostle to nations, conference speaker, life coach, motivational speaker, philanthropist, and author of several books that are available on Amazon.com. Pastor Olugbemi, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, looks like our internet is acting up. I hope it will come back again. All right, let me go on with the rest of the people here. It looks like I'm frozen. I'm trying to. Hello, Pastor Olugbemi, did you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sure.
All right. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I want to proceed to Pastor Otenaike, if the internet would let me. Okay, sorry about that. We're just hoping that the internet will stay up for us. Okay, Pastor Sam Otenaike is the next person I'm introducing. And Pastor Sam Otenaike is not new to this program. Pastor Sam is an engineer by occupation, a kingdom businessman, life coach, nation builder. He has an apostolic calling to raise spirit-filled, highly skilled, world-class service providers, being prepared to establish the kingdom of God in their marketplaces. He's married to his wife, and they're blessed with 3 children. She's Pastor Esther, and they live in Abuja. And together they pastor Precious People's Assembly for All Nations. Pastor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pastor Esther. I'm glad to be here.
Pastor Sam, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And next on the line, Professor Alashle Abimiku has also been on this program with us. She's the Executive Director, International Research of Excellence at the Institute of Human Virology and Professor of Medicine at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and Institute of Human Virology in Nigeria. She is a mother and we have been privileged to have her on this program. Professor Alashle Abimiku, you're welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Ibanga. I'm happy to be back again.
Yeah, and I hope you stay this time around.
God willing, I will.
Amen. Last but not the least is Dr. Ifeanyi McWilliams Nsofo. He's a graduate of Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. He's a senior New Voices Fellow at the Aspen Institute and a senior Atlantic Fellow for Health Equity at George Washington University. Ifeanyi is the CEO of EPI Afrique and Director of Policy and Advocacy at Nigeria Health Watch. Ifeanyi is a thought leader in global health, and he has written over 55 opinion pieces for The Hill, Biomed Central, Scientific American, Project Syndicate, etc. Ifeanyi, you're welcome to the program. Okay, I guess he will catch up with me later. All right, so when we spoke to the millennials, first of all, we asked them, thank you. Who exactly are the millennials? And their definition is interesting. They told us that they are the internet generation. And one of them actually said millennials are the advanced generation because of technology. So, you know, here are people thinking they are way, way, way advanced than the older generation because of technology. And they define themselves by, you know, the internet generation. I don't know if you think that is a fundamental problem in terms of defining who they think they are. Now, the parents are free to, you know, kick the ball, so to speak. Does anybody want to jump in here, dive in here? Do you think that there's a problem in how they define themselves as a generation that is tied to the internet and technology? Is that a fundamental problem by itself? Anybody?
Yeah. Can I come in?
Is there a delay? Something?
Yes.
Yeah, satellite delay.
Pastor Comfort, Pastor Shagun,
Yes.
Pastor Sam.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah. The definition that they're given is the generally accepted, is the convention.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, I'm on now. It is the conventional definition, you know, that the generation, they call them Generation Y, and they follow the Generation X, and they follow Generation X, and we don't know when the Generation Z will come, but we do know that the Generation Y, just like the Generation X, began with information.
Oh, they're here already.
Yeah. So And the X generation, they began to come into the world, into movies and X-rated things and information coming up. But now we come into the millennials called Generation Y, which are also otherwise known as the millennials, whereby they are born in the age closely associated with the social media, associated with very high technological advancement and development. And so this generation literally came in at the turn of the new century, the 21st century. And so their understanding and everything, some of them came just towards the end of the last century, but they cut their teeth in this century. So that everything that you discuss with them, everything they understand, and every form of conversation is founded on that platform. And so they are called the millennials. And it's an aspect of divination that a lot of them tend to go with. I would say that, to a large extent, they are correct. However, those of us who have ministry towards the younger generation, as parents, as pastors, as youth leaders, we need to begin to help them take their definition from values and from the purpose of God, from the purpose of God, from the scriptures, from the understanding, from their calling, from their life goals. And if they define that, then they can have a grip. They can get a grip on, how the millennials, how the generation as defined by convention takes hold on them, because they will be defining who they are in the context of what they are meant to accomplish in life, vis-a-vis what their generation is all out to do.
Thank you so much. Now, one of the things we talked about with them was their lack of social skills. This generation do not know how to relate with other human beings. And this is what they had to say. They said that they interact through the phone and other gadgets because it is effective. It is not time consuming in comparison to actually driving over to see someone and spend time. And they also feel that they use the social media to improve themselves, like self-development, so that it is not totally a bad thing. What is your opinion about millennials and social media? Pastor Comfort, you want to come in here?
Okay. I do agree that it's not altogether a bad thing. But for me, I think social media is like someone eating fish, where you have to be able to separate the bone from the flesh, and it takes maturity. So this is where raising up a child in the way he should go comes in. Because when, like Pastor Shegun said, the values are established from the word go, they are able to gauge themselves and to say, okay, enough of this. I need to put this down. I need to do some studying. Okay, it may be easier for me to call over the phone, but then sometimes, because relationships cost, you have to invest in relationships. You bring out that money to transport yourself to that place, to see that person, so that you have some kind of social interaction. Lord, I don't want to know a couple who are getting married who have never physically encountered each other and have just known each other online through social media. We've not finished with the ones that have seen themselves every day until they got married. Then we'll have to start dealing with those who only meet themselves on social media and get married. I think it's just teaching them how to moderate. So there is the good side of it and the bad side of it. Also, I am on social media. Then something X-rated pops up. Your values tell you, move away from that site, shut it down. But if you are the inquisitive type that decides, I want to check, that's where the mistake is. You just might get drawn in. So the thing is to teach them the way they should go. Ice cream is not bad, but the excess of it is bad. Okay, cake is not bad, excess of it is bad, and too much of everything is bad. And so it's to teach them how to be able to moderate themselves, which I believe is a show of maturity in every child. So we're not saying no, don't engage in social media. In fact, we encourage them to teach us. When I see my son put anything on Instagram, I like it so that he knows his mother too knows how to go on Instagram and like whatever he's doing there. But it's the moderation. I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah. So the millennials, in one of the sessions we had with them, the question was, are the millennials the most misunderstood generation? And they said yes, that they are extremely misunderstood by the older generation. So they gave an example, and one of them said, millennials like to voice their opinion, but the older generation see it as a sign of disrespect. And they also said that just because they have differing opinions from the older generation does not make them rude. And we need to also understand that the way this older generation was brought up is not the same way as they were brought up. And so there is that gap there, that they are just an expressive, group of people, and we interpret it as being disrespectful or rude. Pastor Sam, how would you respond to that? And any one of you can chip in anyway. I don't have to call your name. If you have something to say, you can just chip in, whatever. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pastor Esther. Well, I think the missing link is that they forget that communication is not just about information transfer, but it's a transactional process. It's a transaction between two people. And that transaction goes beyond just verbal expression. The tones, the responses, the body language, all of these add to the communication process. Yes, well, good for them to be very expressive, but they forget one thing, that you cannot take the culture away from people. Millennials like to express themselves. Yes, it's fair enough to express yourself, but within the context of the values of the kingdom, within the context of the values from which they were brought up. So that doesn't throw that away. I'll give you a slight example. I watched a documentary a couple of years ago, and the present husband of the Queen of England, Prince Philip, said that you never had a very good relationship with Prince Charles. Why was that? He said he was a very harsh father, and that being a harsh father, training the next king cannot be with soft hands. That he used the cane on Prince Charles, and that the next king has to be a disciplined king. When I heard that, I was in England, I was on holiday, and I heard that, and here we are, the generality of the society says, you can't talk to them. Even a teacher can't talk to them in class. You have to get permission. There's a way you have to speak to them. And here was the head or the husband of the Queen of England saying that he believes in the rod, that the king that will lead the people must be disciplined. I said that story to say that many of the things and ideas that our millennials have,
Wow.
It's because they are short on values. I think Pastor Shegun mentioned that they are short on values. The fact that you are millennials, the fact that you are in the information age, does not mean you should throw away your values, your kingdom values. I mean, talking about biblical values now. So for me, it's good for them to be expressive. Yes, we will engage them, but they also need to know that they are not communicating until that transactional process is completed. The body language, the way you talk to us, the way you express yourself, you must watch the way you express yourself verbally. Not coming off
Amazing.
as being rude.
Yeah.
Not coming off
Yeah.
because, you just
Yeah.
I give you an example. Well, my daughter the other day, she was hugging me. She said, Dad, that you are not responding to me the way you used to respond. I said, how? She said, normally you will hug me back. I said, oh, really? But I'm busy. Then she said, I said, well, we had some little issues. When you've resolved that issue, then she said, no, it's in your head. That I was thinking that in my head. And I said, my God. So so it's in my head. I said, are you talking
Denying
to
the
your
reality.
Exactly. I mean, she said, I said, are you talking to me? That thing is in my head. That is my mindset.
Yeah.
That
You
is
need
the
to
way.
get over it.
So they think they're expressing themselves, forgetting the values of respect, forgetting those basic values. So I think I will stop it at that and allow others to contribute.
I like to add something to it.
Yeah.
And that has to
Thank
do
you.
with,
And I'm okay. Okay.
sorry, I was going to add to the fact that if you look at the history of humanity, the first gift given to man is relationship. And we are products of relationship. And the man was alone, and he got a wife. God gave him a wife, and relationship between the two produces a child. And the first thing a child will know is relationship with the mother and the father. Every time you substitute that with anything else or for anything, you are cutting for trouble. And we also need to understand, like a lot of my friends now, they send who are in Europe or in the Americas, they send their kids back home. And they say, go and learn where you come from. You don't look your parents and be rude to them. You don't call 911 on your parents. So we're people, we need to understand the fact that we have been made and certain things, not so much, they are not obsolete, but the way we are made, we are people of values. And the moment a child grow up with that value, then relationship, like Pastor Comfort said, how are you going to get married with only communication on the social media? And even the ones that are living in the same community, seeing each other, attending the same church, we're setting up marriage counseling every Wednesday for some of them. So we need to understand that you cannot substitute relationship with any other thing. Okay, social media and whatever. If you're in the hospital, social media will not take care of that.
That's right.
Someone needs to come visit the hospital.
Yeah.
I know that. And so in that, then you find out that if that relationship is there, and the father and daughter are discussing, a son and a father, then they are not going to, you are going to know when not to be rude. But if everything is on telephone, then you can throw any of the languages, any of the slangs and cliches, and you will assume you are communicating. But if we sit down eye to eye, father to father, re-mentoring involves sitting down together and chatting. And the African adage says it takes
interaction.
A village,
Yes.
It takes a village to raise a child.
That's right.
A child. Thank you so much, Pastor Shegun. Prof has been listening very quietly, but I would like you to come in here. Under being misunderstood, most of the Y generation feel they are under pressure from others and themselves. They said that they strive towards an image of perfection, and so it is hard for them to open up when they are failing. They also say that they are misunderstood, especially by their parents, and in fact, one of them said their parents do not make them feel comfortable enough to talk to them and open up to them. So this adds to the pressure that they are under. Prof, you want to come in here? Professor Alashle, can you come in?
Yes, I will try to come in. I apologize for my internet connection. Yeah, there's a delay, so I'm probably repeating myself. I apologize for the internet connection, but I hope that you can hear me. I think I agree with the panelists in terms of the foundation of the child. If the child is brought up with the right foundation, then a lot of what we're talking about in terms of how a child expresses himself or herself really maybe has to do with semantics once the foundation is there. So I feel that in a communication, we coming from a different generation must also understand that there are certain things we don't understand. Want the best for the child, sometimes that child also has one or two things to teach us. And I think that as parents, one of our faults sometimes is that we do know more than our kids. And in most cases, we do. But there are certain parts that they know a little bit better than us because they are more conversant with the new technology. And I think that at some stage, we should be open to that. And so when there is that appreciation of the fact that, yes, I can learn one or two things from you as my child, and it's a communication, and I welcome your addition, then I think it's a fairer playing field. And I think they will feel more accepted in terms
Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm disconnected or I'm still connected now.
You're connected. We can see you. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, just to be sure. So I think Pastor Esther is also disconnected, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jos is very notorious for this problem.
We are so sorry. It's the mountains we have. We have too many mountains around.
I apologize. I
Sorry,
hope
Prof.
you heard
We
some
missed
of the
you.
stuff that I said
Your
anyway.
concluding part, we missed that. Yes, we heard that
Okay.
we also need to learn, some things from our younger generation because we don't know everything, and there are some things that they know much more than we do. That's where it went off. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's
now
about
I'm
it,
going to
really.
turn to Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo because the last edition we had.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the last edition we had with the millennials is something that is really bothersome to me, and of great concern to most parents that are here. And that is an amazing statistics of how many millennials deal with loneliness, which leads to depression, and even some of them entertain suicidal thoughts. And that is of great concern to any parent, And here they are, they couldn't wait to leave home. Now they have left home. They're out there in the world. They don't really have friends because like one of them said that they so the issue of loneliness.
Okay. We've lost Pastor Esther again.
Yeah.
This time I'm on.
It's just so challenging, doing video conferencing in Nigeria.
Well, and during the rainy season too, it makes it twice as difficult because of the clouds.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, sorry about that. So yes, I'm talking about the issue of great concern to all of us. That's the issue of depression and even suicidal thoughts among the young people. And we don't understand much about mental health. And when they say things like that, we say, what is wrong with you? Or yeah, come back home, and things like that. And that's why Dr. Nsofo is here today. He's going to do a presentation about millennials and mental health. But before he comes on, let me just quote what one of them said. You have a lot of friends, but you are very lonely. And she said that social media pushes us apart instead of connecting us. That's the opinion of one of them,
Right.
And then the other one said there's hyperconnectivity.
That's true.
We're all connected to people, but there are no deep connections, And so this, they feel, is some of the problems they are facing, and yet they cannot do without social media. So what is the solution? Dr. Ifeanyi, the ball is in your court.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pastor Esther. Let me just start by sharing my screen. So please, if you can see my screen, just let me know so that I'm sure I'm... can anybody see my screen?
No.
No.
Okay. I'm sharing it already. Okay, maybe it's still trying to
Upload.
upload. Yeah.
I'm just
We can
Okay.
see your screen.
okay. That's why I want
Okay. Can
I
you see it now?
wanted it on earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
We can see you, but not your screen.
I can
Some
see
are
the
seen
screen.
earlier than
Yeah, I can
others.
see the screen now.
We can see the screen.
Okay.
It's on its way to Jos.
Okay. So the mountains and the rocks
It's
are still blocking that of Jos. But
it's in Akwanga. It has arrived.
okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much again, Pastor Esther.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you know, I like the fact that you ended with social media and how that impacts on mental health. But also, I also felt that it was important to have some background about mental health and also to share the results of a research that we did locally here in Nigeria about people's perceptions of mental health. What I've tried to do is to tease out what the millennials are saying as far as that mental health survey is concerned. So, I think one interesting thing is that, at least in our own part of the world, we kind of do not give so much emphasis to mental health, despite the fact that it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects the way we think, the way we feel and act, and also it determines how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and make choices. Uh, it's also very important for us to realize that it's the imperatives of mental health begin. It's important at every stage in life, from childhood through adolescence to, and also through adulthood. Now, there's some things that I think are also very important to mention, that impacts on mental health, so that genes and brain chemistry, life experiences, people may have gone through all sorts of trauma that they cannot, or abuse they cannot talk about, but they are actually they've been dealing with over the years, and also so there are some aspects of family
Okay.
history of mental health. Yeah. And I think that um, just to say that as far as, first of all, depression is like the most common mental health disease, globally. So millennials in Nigeria are not facing anything different from what other people are facing.
Wow.
So it affects about 264 million people globally. That is more than the population of Nigeria, just to put it in scale. And it's also important to say that it's different from mood swings. All of
Wow.
us get into moods.
Wow.
After a few hours or by the next day, you snap out of it and you go on. But depression is actually deeper than that because it really affects the way people relate, the way they relate in the workplace, in school, at home, with their friends. People keep to themselves. And like you said, Pastor Esther, a number of people actually resort to suicidal thoughts. And the data is that depression can, causes about 800,000 people dying due to suicide every year globally.
Wow.
And among people aged 15 to 29 is the second leading cause of death. And this bracket, it's almost like a bridge between generation Z and the millennials. Well, we know that there are treatments for mental health disorder, but again, if you look at our own context in Nigeria and some other low and middle income countries, people don't get treatment for different reasons. But one thing I also want to throw in here, because we're talking about millennials, is that postpartum depression is also a very important part of depression that we don't talk about, that affects new mothers. We just expect that once people give birth, they should be happy and excited. But women face postpartum depression. A number of them have died, due to suicide as a result of that, or they harm their babies, or they are not just interested in their kids. So last year we did a mental health in Nigeria survey, Epi Africa and the Africa Polling Institute. So we interviewed 5,315 people across the 36 states in Abuja. And the survey was done in English, Pidgin English, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. All the respondents were above 18 years. Now, just to again clarify the definition of millennials and Generation Z. So people who are millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. So by now, they should be between 24 and 39 years. The Generation Z between 1997 and 2012. Okay, so I just brought out some aspects of the results of the survey. So the first one of the questions we asked was, what do you understand by mental health disease? So the first column here is national response, then for youth age 18 to 35. So 70% of people averagely nationally say that is when somebody starts running around naked. 3% say it's when someone starts talking to him or herself. 55% say when someone starts harming themselves, and 54% when someone starts harming other people. While 25% says when someone starts keeping to themselves. Then other people give some very non-specific ideas that are about 2%. Now compare that with people aged 18 to 35, what they said percentage. So you see, there's really no much difference between what the general population is saying and what people aged 18 to 35 are saying. Now, what bothers us about this result is that if you look at the definitions, you see that in a way they may be right, but the challenge is that they are also those responses kind of define people who have advanced stages of mental health disease. You get what I mean? So most of the time when people are suffering from it at the initial stages, people don't know because they don't get to talk to people. They don't get to access them. Now, the second one is, what are the causes of mental health disease? So look at it. They say drug abuse, 84%, which is quite high. Sickness of the mind or brain, 60%. Millennials, 58% say that. Then possession by evil spirits, 54% versus 53%. Something that runs in the family, 32% versus 30%. Then punishment by God, 23% across board. Now, look at again our concern with this. So you can imagine, let's focus on these two, possession by evil spirits and punishment by God. So any millennial that feels that this is what causes mental health disease, you can rest assured that the person will not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because who wants to come and tell you that they are possessed by evil spirits or they are being punished by God? That brings all sorts of judgmental issues into mental health. So we also asked, do you know anyone who has mental health disease? So nationally, 48% said yes, that they know somebody who has mental health disease. 46% said no. 6% said maybe. So that's almost like, let's just say 50% of, people we interviewed knew somebody who had mental health disease. Now, when we took it down to millennials, what we find out is that, again, not much difference. So what it tells you is that if I have 50 millennials in a room, half of them know somebody who is suffering from mental health disease. And that is something that we should be concerned about. But the challenge is that, again, they are not speaking to people. And I think that it's all because of all the different misconceptions about mental health disease. So one of the greatest professors, the stigma, and one of the greatest professors in mental health in Nigeria, Professor Goroje, University of Ibadan, way back did some community, survey and found, you could see, if you saw pictures from there, people shackled, people being beaten, people held naked, people going through all sorts of, really, for me as a public health practitioner, more like exorcism, if you like, trying to, find a way of, getting it out of them. And one other slide I did show is that when we now ask people, so what do you think
the spirits out?
Yes. So 2% said that they're going to beat the disease out of the person. So there is a lot of issues around stigma and discrimination and also lack of care. And you talked about mental health by, social media, Pastor Esther, and a number of other panelists. Now, what social media does is that, first of all, it gives people a platform to compare themselves with other people. So, and you see, very few people will share the trauma they are going through on social media. Most people will share how things are exciting for them. They went on this vacation. Everybody's happy. They have such beautiful relationships. And for you, if you're dealing with mental health issues, you're comparing yourself and you're wondering, when is it going to, get to my turn? So that kind of puts stress on millennials and young people, and really Nigerians generally, because there's that comparison, and you're wondering if you're doing well. But again, from the work that we do, we found out that social media has also been a very great source of help for people that have mental health disease, especially millennials, young people generally. So I don't know how many people are aware of this organization, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, MANI. They are so efficient in the work that they do. And to give you an example how efficient they are, if, for example, I tweet now that I'm tired of this world, I can't take it any longer, and somebody tags them, they will reach out to me. They will find somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody that they must reach out to me, either by calling me, sending me a message, or sending people, because they have volunteers across the country. Now, this is the power of social media. So through social media, they've been able to provide all sorts of help to people. Also, She Writes Woman is another social media platform founded by a lady. The man is founded by a young Nigerian doctor who is based in the UK now. Then I feel that no matter how bad we think that our healthcare system is, it's usually important for people to seek care first within the healthcare system, because if you get to a hospital and they suspect that you may need a mental health care, then they can refer you to the next level of care. Or if it's a private hospital that has consultants, that provide that kind of care, they will book you down. But I also think it is very important for millennials and for us generally to speak people that we trust. And I want to emphasize on trust here. So your parents, your siblings, your friends, religious leaders, pastors like yourselves and all. But you see, the question is, from my own experience, I've seen that most times when people speak about all sorts of things they are hearing in their minds with people that they think they trust, the same people use the information to stigmatize them. And what that happens is that people keep withdrawing to themselves. So what I would expect is that when people open up to you, the best you can do is to listen, and also to say, okay, how do we get help for you? How do we reach out to MANI, for example? How do we reach out to She Writes Woman? Or how do we go to hospital there to get the care that people require? But the pressure on millennials is very huge because, again, because of that age range, like you said, Pastor Esther, they've left the parents' home, they are staying on their own, they may not have a job, they may not be earning as much as they think they should be earning, and they're also comparing themselves with all of their mates. So the pressure on them is huge. So we need to find a safe space where people will be open to talk about things that they are dealing with so that they can get the help that they require. Now, this is my last slide. And I came across this quotation by Mother Teresa way back when I was in secondary school, and it's kind of stuck with me. And what she said then was, that the greatest disease in us is the feeling of being unwanted, uncared for, and deserted by everybody. And if you speak to people who are dealing with mental health issues, this is something that kind of resonates. I just feel that, the world is against me. I can't take it any longer. I'm not a success. I'm hearing voices. They're telling me to harm myself or harm all sorts of things. So that feeling of being kind of disconnected from everybody, is what perpetuates, mental health issues. And, in most instances, push people to either, try attempt suicide or die by suicide as a result. So I'm happy that the millennials that you interviewed, are actually speaking up. And my idea about speaking up, whether they are young or old people, is that we need to allow people to say their minds, to be honest. Because my idea is that why we are where we are now as a nation is because over the years we have brought up people who are very respectful, who cannot question authority, who cannot say their minds, and they cannot question all these things that we're going through with other politicians. So we need to be able to allow people to say their minds. Of course, saying their minds respectfully, whether they are talking to an elder, or even if you're talking to somebody younger than you, or you're talking to your child, it has to be done respectfully because so respect begets respect. This is what something that I believe. So I just felt it was important for us to see just a snippet of that survey and understand the perception of Nigerians as far as mental health is concerned, and now know why millennials and people generally don't want to talk about mental health in Nigeria, because the stigma is stifling.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo. That has been very, very educative. I'll just ask my panelists to respond to this presentation. Anyone, one after the other. Let's respond to this presentation. Are you as scared as I am and feeling really we have a lot of work to do, both physically and spiritually?
Yeah.
That's right. I'd like to say some about it. Because one is into,
Okay,
helping some-
Mrs. Adesoye,
Yeah.
you want to speak?
I think now that
We will
my
all
internet
respond
is
to
there
this
before it throws
presentation.
me out. I find the study very fascinating, but looking at your data, one of the things that you said is that actually we don't. Sorry, I heard Pastor Esther say something. Should I continue?
Yes.
Yes, Prof. Go ahead, Prof.
Oops, I don't hear anything.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, please continue. You're coming on and off, but just continue. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know whether Dr. Ifeanyi can hear me.
Yes. I
Oh,
can hear
okay.
you. Yeah.
Sorry about that. There's really a delay. Okay, wonderful. I was just saying that I find the data that you showed really fascinating. I mean, and it's great work that you're doing because, we need to understand the issues and before we even begin to address it. But what was fascinating to me from your data is, in fact, you didn't show any difference at all between the millennium and the other generation, like generations like us, in terms of how we think, which is quite fascinating because here we are talking about two generations that, maybe the concept, the idea is that one doesn't understand the other. And yet you've got a study like this that is showing like literally similar percentages across all the different issues that you looked at. So maybe we're not as different as we think, or maybe there's a bias in terms of the way the questionnaire was set up. But what I would have loved to see from the study is how do each of these different populations cope with what they identify as an issue? Because maybe that's where the difference is. Maybe a millennium would cope with mental depression or illness in a certain way compared to generations like us. Maybe I would like to go and sit with my grandma and talk about it. And maybe the millennium would like to Google and find people in China or US that don't really know them, but they know of the same issues and they're happy to discuss that. So I don't think your study is done. I'm looking forward to the second phase.
Okay, can I just say something quickly? So I just shared a snippet of our result, to be honest, because I just had 10 minutes. I didn't want to overburden, this panel with the whole result. So Prof, I can share the full report with you. We actually asked that question. So how do you deal with, what's the solution to mental health issues? And to be honest, they're not really different across generations, because ultimately, I think it's garbage in, garbage out, because the millennials are not independent. The millennials were brought up by generations before them. Those generations had, perceptions about mental health that I feel that in a way they've also passed across to people. But obviously, if we kind of segment it to say people that have access to, say, social media, obvious, like mentally aware Nigeria initiative that I mentioned on social media, lots of millennials on social media reach out to them. In fact, in my circle, once you tweet anything that has to do with mental health, you're dealing with it. Mentally Aware is the first organization that people ask to please reach out to this person. This person is dealing with different issues. But I hear you. I agree that ultimately, we need to dig deeper, to find out some of these very some of the nuances that are, that kind of define the different age groups. Yeah. But I'll be happy to share the full report with you so that get your feedback, and who knows, when we have funding again, we can also look at different aspects of mental health. Okay. So sorry, Pastor Esther, you can go ahead. I'm done.
I think it was Pastor Shagun that was talking.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to add something to that. I mean,
we will now turn to the other parents from Pastor Comfort.
Oh.
Pastor Comfort, Pastor Shagun, and Pastor Sam. Let's quickly hear a word from them before the internet goes off completely.
Okay, let me
Pastor
let
Comfort,
Pastor
you want to come in here?
Okay, Pastor Shagun actually had started, so I'd oblige him to go ahead.
Yeah, there are just some couple of things that I feel we can do to support the millennial in this situation. Like Dr. Nsofo just, like the statistics we got, the survey we just heard, garbage in, garbage out. Parents we're not fully aware. Many parents are not fully aware of the issue of mental health.
Absolutely.
Of late, in the last 5 years, I have, suddenly realized a very high suicidal rate. Suicide rate among the millennials. I know, youth corporals and things that we've never heard before. It's just happening all over the place, all over the country. There's a case that I'm involved with right now, where a very young girl who had never met a man was lured in by some two boys and drugged, and then two of them raped her first man experience. And when I said, okay, we're going to handle this, and I delegated some person, the police need to come in and then get this lady through to some NGO, and they're going to engage in counseling and some treatment and some things. Oh, the feedback I got is that, oh, yeah, we'll keep the baby, he'll be all right. It's not necessary, don't expose us, just keep that. And I'm saying, you're about to damage a whole human being for life. Do you realize the torture, the torment this guy is going to go through in the future? And now you're not, you're trying to stop her because you want to cover family shame. So the victim is furthermore being victimized by being shortchanged and shielded away from, denying access to mental health counseling and all the necessary available tools to bring this girl. So if such a girl gets to a point in university or something, because now they go on the internet and there's nothing you can find on the internet, how to commit suicide, how to do this, how to do that. So they just get to a point because their threshold, the pain threshold of this generation is a lot shorter than our own threshold, because we're told to suck it up. So you are not allowed to talk, and whatever you go, suck it up and shut your mouth. And then when they flog you and you are trying to cry, then they say, what are you crying about? Then they flog you until you stop crying. So there's no room for expression. There's no room for expression. You cannot complain and then obey before complaining. Now, if you have already obeyed, there's no room for complaining because it's useless. So then I beat you, you can't cry, because if you cry, I beat you until you stop crying. So all of this restriction helped us to bottle up so much. So we sucked up all of this. And now this generation, you tell them to suck it up, they just feel it's frustrating. Then they take the easy way out, because that's what they read on the internet. And so I see that parents need to do a lot. Like I almost gave up on this issue. I told the person today, I said, I'm not going to be involved. If a person is going through, two people have raped her, two young men have raped her, and you won't give them access to mental health care and counseling, I can't be involved. And the third thing I like to drop along is the fact that parents must always go to their children. I learned that very early. I learned that many years ago when I thought that the children will always come to me, okay, why are you sitting down and just moaning, you swelling up? Just come over and talk with me. And it never worked because it is parents who always have to go to them before they can try to, they know you gain their confidence, then
Right.
they come to with you. When I was writing one of my books, I was all locked up in my library, and I took a little break and I went into my bedroom, and our last boy came to me and said, "Daddy, you know, I need to tell you some things you are doing wrong." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I need to talk to you because my other brothers are not speaking because they are not okay." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "When we were children, you always come to our room and you share with us, you tell us story about your childhood, and you taught us song and we play together. Now you are so busy, you are just writing books. And if we come to the library, you say, yes, what do you need? Okay, take it. Okay, I'm busy." He said, "You don't even come to our room anymore." So, well, immediately I said, "Okay, son, stop this conversation. Let's go to your room." So we migrated to his room, and I sat with them there. I sat with him. I said, "Okay, we will end this conversation in your room. I promise to be coming to your room. But please organize the room before I come, since you know I'm allergic to disorganized area. So fix the room." And okay, so we're going to discuss anything. So I lay on their bed. Okay, let's talk. So it taught me something that. so it taught me something that if I sat on the big chair and I expect these guys to come, they ain't coming. You have to go to them. You know, so ever since then, every week I make sure wherever they are, I speak with them 2-3 times a week or 4 times. "How are you doing? Hey, friend." And when they have all grown up and they're all mature, I call them brothers. "Hey, hello, brothers." And then we share together. And so some of them say, "Daddy, are you alone?" He said, "I need to share something confidential with you." So now I found that they could share confidential things when I went in. You know, God himself promoted Abraham as a son to become a friend. So when I began to share with them as a friend, they began to open up to me and tell me exactly what was in their heart. Then I could take care of a lot of things. So I think we parents need to go more to this.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pastor Shegun. Pastor Comfort, you want to come in here?
Yes, I'd love to. If that's short of saying that Pastor Shegun just picked the words right out of my mouth, because that was exactly what I was going to say, that parents need to be able to engage their children. I find out that a lot of people want to do that later in life, but it's best to start it when they are not yet aware of where the lines are drawn, where they are still trying to mark their territory. How far can I push daddy? How far can I push mommy? And that is when you tell them, look, there are no boundaries. We have morals. We have set principles. There is this, there is that. But when the time comes, we will roll on the carpet and pull each other's hair and play hide and seek. And when the time comes, you're going to call me sir or ma. You know, you're able to do that. And when you start from when they've not yet even quite known how to call their own names, they grow up, it becomes second nature to them. And when they grow up, there are no boundaries. I thank God that I was able to set that very early in life in my children.
Right.
So there was nothing that was, no bars, no holes barred, I tell you. We talk about everything. People, your daughter said that? Your son said that? How? And they're like, you told your mom that? You told your dad that? How? But it's because you start early. It's easy when they're older. But like Pastor Shegun said, even when they grow old, it's still not late. If you can just take the first step, because the lady came and told me she didn't know how to tell her daughter about the birds and the bees. I'm like, how can you not? Your daughter is 13 years. She said, where do you want me to start? I said, just start. She said, I can't. I'll push her. You talk to her about the birds and the bees. I said, no, it's your responsibility, because going past the birds and the bees, and so much more you need to talk about that I'm not going to be there and you will have to do. And we had to go through a process where, she gradually had to start, pressing into her daughter. And she told me that for the first time, her daughter actually came into her room, laid on the bed with her, and put her head on her chest, that she cannot remember that ever happened. I told her that's the way we're expected. Keep pulling on that rope until you're finally able to get there. So it's never too late. It's honestly never too late. And the children want it. I remember that's what I wanted with my parents. Unfortunately, my parents did not do that, but I, as a child, pushed in. And I presently, until my mom died, none of my siblings had the relationship I had with my mom, because I pressed for it. I knew that was what I wanted, and I told myself I'm going to get it. Sometimes I'll ask her a question. She say, aren't you ashamed? I say, I'm not ashamed though. If you don't tell me as my mother, who will tell me? And that was how we became the best of friends amongst, all the children in the family. So it is possible. It is possible. Yeah.
Pastor Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Comfort. Pastor Sam.
Thank you very much, Pastor Esther, my fellow panelists. I think this has been very enriching, and I've been blessed so far. I just like to contribute something to this particular discourse. We've heard of engagement with our children, which is very important. But I think our children, especially the millennials, they are suffering from what I can call information overload. There is so much information out there, and all of those information is talking about the positive side, all the good things of life.
Absolutely.
And all of that. Forgetting that the positive terminal of a battery alone cannot start a car. You need the negative terminal. In other words, if you don't ground that battery, it's not going to produce electricity. So for us as parents, we need to be able to help our children to ground that information they have. There's so much. Anything, Google it. Any information, Google it. But Google is not going to tell them the side effects. Google is not going to tell them the cons. Google is not going to show them the human aspect, that transactional aspect that some of our own experience can teach them, And again, I think it goes back to many of the things we have said here about relationship. So why I agree with my colleague that we must engage them, we must build on relationship. We can start now. It's not even too late if we have not developed that relationship. And more importantly, I think we need to help them to ground this various information that is available there on social media. I think this is very, very crucial. Our children, they know more than us on virtually any subject now, thanks to Google. For those of them who are voracious in reading, all you say is they have Googled it. They can lecture you on it. So there's nothing you want to tell them. But the negative side, they will not be able to, even if that was available, that won't appeal to them. And I think that's where we as parents need to come in, to ground that information, to bring in the negative terminal of the battery to the positive and all the knowledge they have gotten on internet, on social media, to help them to ground it properly in reality, in real life, so that it can make much meaning to their lives.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pastor Sam. I want to start by thanking Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo for your presentation. It's really been very, very educative and has opened our eyes to a lot of things. I looked closely at the courses for mental health, and one of the aspects that people laugh at is the spiritual aspect. And I just want to say something about that. That aspect is real and it is true. The reason being that sometimes our children, expose themselves to certain things they should not. and they don't even understand the spirits behind such things that come in to torment them. For example, there's a kind of music you listen to, you know, that is so.
Wow.
Okay. So Jaws strikes again.
There's Abuja conference right now.
Yes.
So, in as much as we are looking at the mental aspect, the physical, I do agree that we need to build relationship with the younger generation. We need to close the gap. We need to work on our communication. It's very, very important. But we also need to advise them on what they open up themselves to. Because scripture is vast with demonic spirits and that are being cast out. So even though some people laugh at it, it is real and it is true. We have to advise the younger generation the kind of things they open up themselves to. And I feel very passionate about this because, you know, we are trusting God for revival, for a final move of God. But God told us in the book of Malachi that won't happen until the hearts of the sons are turned to the fathers and the heart of the fathers are turned to the sons. So God himself is interested in closing the gap. And we need to cooperate with God at this time to close the generational gap because God wants it healed. And even in Acts chapter 2, when the prophecy of Joel was being spoken that in the last day, God says he will pour out his spirit upon our sons and our daughters and our old men. You know, so nobody is left out. God wants, I think God is really, you know, before we partake of this revival, God wants to heal the generational disease, the generational gaps that exist right now. It needs to be closed up. And that's why I feel very passionate about it. So yes, the medical aspect is important. Yes, psychological aspect is important. But I also want to add that we must not neglect the spiritual aspect. And some of the younger generation, their friends think there's nothing wrong in palm reading. They go for palm reading and they invite their friends to also go for palm reading, but they don't know that's where they open up themselves to those spirits. And then the depression comes in and they are being tormented and they are hearing voices in their head. It is true. So I think we should not laugh at those situations when they present themselves and instead find a way of helping them spiritually. I hope I have not talked too long and I hope I didn't start preaching. Okay, so I'm going to take some concluding statements from some of our viewers. Ebipa said, this is a very interesting and educative discussion. Discipline and values must be observed when airing your opinions by Generation Y. And Ebipa said, Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo, thanks for the awareness on mental health. And I want to add that you need to do more. We need you more on this program to educate our larger audience when we have better internet. And Chinwe Udogu said, if we don't recognize mental illness as physical health issues, then we will never get people the treatment that they need. I think Dr. Ifeanyi will agree with that comment. And Dr. Goit said, well, we need to be friends with our children to gain their confidence.
Just.
But I mean, the mountains also give it the beauty. So
it's a trade-off.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
shade of adoration.
That's right. That's right.
So true.
Maybe Dr. Ifeanyi should share a little more about his findings while we wait for Pastor Esther.
I would love to ask Dr. Ifeanyi if we have cases of mental health right now that we need treatment. What can we do? Where do we send them to? I had a little boy who came to me because I'm aware of some of these. I use some of those in spiritual, but some of the training to be able to
Taking a
help
while
him.
to come back.
Yeah.
You know, and he said to me, I told my mother, who is a teacher, I told her I need a counselor. And the mother said, talk to me. He said, no, you're not going to be dispassionate, so send me to someone.
Wow.
And
There's Pastor.
Okay.
he was caught up in drugs in school and was rusticated. You know, so we had to take him after he was rusticated and worked on him, and then appealed to the school, and he was demoted. I mean, he was given 1 year drop off. So where do we send them if we have such cases?
Okay, so I mean, to be honest, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, like I mentioned, they have volunteers across every state in Nigeria. They work with young people, and they also work with psychologists, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists. So once they have access to this kind of boy, for example, and have a chat with him, then they can now refer him to the best place he can get care within that particular locality. Is the person based in Abuja here?
Yes, based in Abuja. Although he's able to receive help with some of the things we're able to do, and prayers, and so a psychologist eventually is back to school now.
Okay.
He's stable now, but we do have cases like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Require professional treatment.
Yeah. So I'll share the phone number of Mentally Aware with Pastor Esther so that she can pass that across. They are quite effective in what they do, and because they work with young people, they really build capacity in that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ifeanyi. Okay, I think we have pushed our luck with the internet this evening, and we should be rounding up now. It's been it's been torturous, but I thank God we're able to pull it through in spite of the rocks of the city of Jos trying to throw me off. Thank you so much, Pastor Comfort Adesoye. Always a pleasure to listen to you.
It was good being here.
We are just so blessed by your input.
Amen.
Pastor Sam, thank you so much. We are very grateful. And your words of wisdom, as usual, have really blessed us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What can I say? Professor Alashley hung in there and finally made it. Thank you for your professional touch. And
Thank you. I have
always
thoroughly
a pleasure
enjoyed
to
the
listen to you. I always learn
discussions.
whenever you speak.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes. Okay. Pastor Shegun, my brother, my friend, you're always there whenever we call on you. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much and for the work you do. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Ifeanyi, you should know that I'm going to come after you again. Thank you for this evening. It's been
so
very enriching. Very enriching, and I was quite educated. Thank you so much. And before we say goodbye, I'm going to give you each person 1 minute to say a final word. 1 minute, starting with Pastor Comfort.
Okay. I think as parents, one thing we should do is become more aware, and let's try not only to be aware of our own children, but where God positions us, there are also children around us we can look out to, because children are the heritage of the Lord. It doesn't care who their parents are, they are all the heritage of the Lord. So make yourself available to help any child. I trust God to grant us that sensitivity to be able to help you, detect that somebody is going through mental issues, and that you will be the link that God is going to send to that person for the help and the salvation they need at that time.
Amen. Thank you. Pastor Sam.
Thank you very much. Well, I think for our parents, I would say that we need to listen more to our children. We need to give them more time and be patient with them. And at the same time, I want to counsel our millennials. No matter how much truth they know, no matter how much positive information they know, like the Yoruba saying that no matter how many new clothes a child has, he cannot have enough as much as old clothes or disused clothes as the parents. The negative experiences we have had in life will be able to help them to regulate that enormous information that they have, to create a balance between reality and the so-called information that they have. So I want to counsel our millennials, learn to trust your parents. If they have helped you this far, they have brought you up this far, then you should know that they are there for you. They are not going to give you information that will poison you. And so while we parents will try to listen more to our parents, I want to appeal to our millennials to please take time to trust your parents. No matter how much you know, you can't have as much bad experiences as they have had. And those bad negative experiences will help you to be grounded in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful message. Pastor Shegun, it's your turn.
All right. I'll just say, like, I've been.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm on. Yeah. Like Alvin Toffler said, the literates of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write. They are those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So as parents, we need to be able to learn, to relearn, and unlearn some things. And the stigmatization of those with mental health is obsolete. We know it's a reality, and we know there are many factors. Sometimes when I travel and I spend a month or two, when I come back, I just wonder, how do we survive in this part of the world, that we don't have more crazy people on the street, because there's so many pressure here. So mental health is something we need to learn, unlearn the things we know about it, and relearn new things concerning mental health. Secondly is the fact that, like I suggested, parents need to engage the children more. We need to listen to them, no matter how foolish listen to them, and with patience and wisdom, guide them through. And thirdly, is that, the greatest critics are the worst performers. I found out that in every revolution all over the world, those who led the revolution were never good leaders. The reason is that they're so busy attacking what is not working that they fail to prepare for what is going to work. So I always tell the younger generation, we didn't do it right. Then try to take it from where we stop now, and take it to the next level. So don't repeat our mistakes, because we are a lot better. We're a lot better than our parents, and so you should be better than we are. So that when you begin to raise your families, we shouldn't even be having conversations like this, because you've already learned these things, and then you're able to start your family on this foundation. The value system and understanding how to raise kids. We're a little better than our parents, and they should be better than us. So the millennials too, begin to learn these things now and prepare for your own home. Otherwise, you'll be busy castigating your parents when it's your own turn. You don't know what to do because they're not learning now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Thank you. Professor Alashle, you want to dive in here? Your closing remark.
Yes, but thank you very much, Pastor Esther. It's
Professor
just
Alashle?
been, so enriching this conversation. My last sense is that there's so with our young, so there isn't a lot of difference.
Can we hear?
So if we talk about the
continue.
Oh, no.
Just gone.
Oh, we have lost. Too bad. This internet. Okay, we're going to move from Jos to Abuja. Dr. Ifeanyi. Dr. Ifeanyi.
Okay, thanks again, Pastor Esther, and thanks to all the three pastors for this opportunity to share. There's no doubt that this internet will even affect somebody's mental health, to be honest, because you cannot. So for me, I think we need to. Yeah, we need to. I think as a people, we need to understand that mental health is as important as physical health. We should talk more about it. We should, stigmatize less. We should open up, create safe spaces for people to be able to talk about whatever it is they are going through without without the judgment and the stigmatization that comes with it. And of course, all these things have to be done, respectfully, no matter who it is that you're talking to. But I'm going to end with an Igbo proverb, which says that in English that your morning begins when you wake up. And why I like that particular proverb is that it just shows that it's not too late to start anything. So So once you've learned, you've got that knowledge, that understanding, you can actually now begin to do the right things and begin to change, to change the course of your life and of your destiny. Thank you again for this opportunity to share and be an advocate for mental health, care.
Thank you so much. And finally, from my own part, I just want to plead to all our parents out there, our mothers, our fathers. You don't have to befriend only your children. Please reach out to any other young person that you know needs mentoring, needs guidance. A lot of your children's friends actually need you. So please just stretch out that large heart that God has given to you and embrace much more than you do, and they'll be blessed for it, because I have found that out in dealing with my children myself. So you said very enlightening, and he's saying, well done to all of you. So I guess his wife is very systematizing those with mental health issues. We may not make much headway in Nigeria. Parents tend to hide and cover up for their children instead of getting medical help. Thank you for this awareness. Part 2, please. That's our final request. Part 2 of this. Well, with the torture we went through with internet, I'm not, God has to just help me. Mimi said very educative discussion, really learned a lot on mental health. And she said, God bless you. And Desmond said, good to listen to the perspective of parents. And Nicholas
Amen.
Giola Ann said, thank you, Pastor Esther, Pastor Comfort, Professor Lashley, Pastor Shegun, Pastor Sam, Dr. Ifeanyi. Thank you for putting this piece together. The discussion is a huge blessing to me. And these are the comments of all your viewers. So that means you have done exceptionally well. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And as our custom is on Family
Thank you.
Connect in our dialect, starting with Pastor Comfort Adesoye.
What am I supposed to say? Bye-bye? Good night? Say Laji.
You're supposed to say goodbye or good night in your dialect, in Yoruba, like,
Nupe. Say Laji.
Pastor Comfort, you said it already. Say Naji.
Say Laji.
Say Laji.
Okay, Pastor Sam, you're next.
Odaro.
Okay, Ifeanyi, you're next. Ifeanyi, you're next.
Cordial Gozo.
Ifeanyi. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Pastor Shegun, you're next.
Cordial Gozo. I've said that.
Very good.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Pastor Shegun.
Odaro.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Prof, we're trying. Prof is
Just
trying
in
to
time.
dodge. This is not internet. It's Prof trying to dodge. Oh, we got her back.
Just
Okay,
in
Prof,
time.
it's your turn. Okay. And for me is Ask Thierry. Good night. Thank you, and God
Good
bless
night.
you.
Thank you
Amen.
so much. It
Viewers,
was good
this is
seeing
where we
you.
come to the end of our
Thank you.
edition.
Yeah.
All right, good night.
And yes,
Good
and
night.
we'll be with you next week by God's grace.
Amen.
Thank you. God bless
Amen.
you all.
Amen.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Oh, okay.
Bye.